Good afternoon. My name is DeeJay, and welcome to another digital Redken education course. But before we get started, what would today be if we did not start it with a little bit of energy? So let's go ahead and get this party started.
All right, everybody, get on your feet. It's time for
All right, everybody, cameras on. Let's all go together.
Redken on 3. 1, 2, 3. Redken!
Oh, yes. Now the blood's pumping. I love it so much. All right. So first of all, I want to say my name is DeeJay. I'm a Redken artist. I just want to take a minute to thank you for joining us for this short little segment today. But anytime that you invest in yourself, we're learning something so that we can earn better, so we can live our best life. So to do that, we want to learn better. So to learn better, we currently have outcomes we currently have outcomes in life that directly impact our style and the method that we do or have to create those outcomes. But today we want to challenge those outcomes by giving you different habits and beliefs to create different or better results in life. Now, are we saying that the color application that you're currently doing is incorrect? No, but hopefully today we can show you a quicker way to apply that hair color to get you better results, more money, and better habits and better beliefs. But while we're learning today, we need to be open. We're going to be learning, or we might be learning something that's a little bit different, a little bit out of what we typically do, right? So I ask you to be open for today. And while we're being open and we're learning new things, we need to understand that mistakes are okay. So if your color retouch doesn't quite look like my color retouch, that's fine. Let's figure out what the differentiators are and let's move forward with those, because we learn so much more from a mistake than we do doing something the correct way. I hope that you can agree with that. And as we're making those mistakes, or if we make those mistakes, do not justify, deny, or lay blame on those mistakes of, oh, it was my subsectioning, or oh, it was my saturation. No, let's own those mistakes and let's create those better habits so that we can create better beliefs and results, right? And while you're learning today, be responsible for your learning. If you can't hear me, we're in a digital world. So if you can't hear me, if you can't see what I'm doing, I think that we have pretty sufficient lighting, but if you can't see, if I need to move my camera, please let me know. And learning requires energy. So if you need to get up, get you another cup of coffee before we get into this amazing content for just this short 20 minutes, please go grab yourself a cup of coffee. And anytime that we take a break and come back and you hear that energy song, we're going to get started with a little bit more energy to keep that blood flowing, because digital world, right? So we need to keep that blood pumping so that we can keep that learning strong. And then we're going to celebrate all wins. So we know Redken rituals, hands in the middle. So at the end of every segment, before we go on a break, we're going to do a virtual hands in the middle, create our power word, lock it down, and we're going to celebrate that win. And then ultimately, after we learn better and earn better, we're going to live our best life. And that's what today is all about, even whenever it comes to something as simple as how to do a root retouch. The codes of the classroom today. So it is 4 o'clock. We will be having a sharp 15-minute learning segment. So we do ask that you do give us your full attention for that 15 minutes because it's going to be fast and furious. And I hope that you learn an amazing new way to do a color retouch. And I am going to ask you to eliminate all distractions. One great way that you can do that is by wearing headphones. That way, if your cat's, wandering around, my cat's around here somewhere, but that way if your cat's wandering around or knocks something over, you don't have to worry about it because you can't hear it because you're focusing on the education. And then I do ask cameras on. I love to see your faces. I love the interaction and I love the energy. It's what keeps me going. But I do ask that you keep yourself on mute, right? So unless you have something to share, please keep yourself on mute. But if you do have something to share, please raise your digital hand right here at actually, I think it's at the bottom of the bar. Today we are not going to be working in any groups. Like I said, it's a 15-minute class about a root retouch. We're going to take some hot tips and we're going to celebrate those with some of our fellow participants. But we're still going to be working together. We're still one team. We're still going to work in unison and symphony. Sorry, forgot that word for a second. We're going to work in symphony. So no need for breakouts, nothing like that. It's all going to be all together. And then if you have a question, please, there's no bad questions. Just I ask that if you do have a question and you put it in the chat, please put 3 question marks in front of it so that we can identify that as a question instead of an aha or a takeaway. But if you do have an aha or a takeaway, please share those in the chat as well because we would love to get every aha from you. We're not going to take a break today because, like I said, it's just a 15-minute course. So no breaks for today. But you know what? Like I said, if you needed that coffee, I hope you grabbed yourself another little cup. This session is being recorded. It's in case you need to preface it again, you can access it at any time that you desire. So we are recording this. I do ask, even though it is a quick 15-minute video, that you do have your notebook and you do have a pen or whatever you use to take your notes, whether it's sticky notes, anything, take some notes. And then, we're going to celebrate some wins. It is a digital world. So, we might high five the camera to high five one of our lovely coworkers or one of our lovely partners. But you know what? We also have reactions in the digital world. So we all have our reactions. Please take a moment to find where those reactions are. They should be at the bottom of the bar. And then you can show some love with the reaction. You can applause with the reaction. So we're definitely wanting to still celebrate all those wins, even though we're in a digital setting in a digital world. So are we ready to get started? I think we are. I'm ready to get started. And what we're going to talk about is root retouch application best practices. And I know that it's something that we've done 100 times, right? If not 1,000 times. But I want to show you the Redken way to do it, and I want to show you the way that I do it because of certain reasons for me that I love this technique. Is it's cleaner. It keeps the hair out of the guest's face, keeps it clean, keeps it neat, and it's very time efficient. That's the most important part for me, is it's time efficient. I only do hair behind the chair 1 day a week, so whenever I'm doing a lot of my gray retouches, I need to make sure that I am as efficient as possible and as timely as possible. And for this workshop, I'm going to be working in one quadrant, so that way I have some time to zone coach you all. And I have my lovely model, Miss Ellie, right here. And I'm going to be working in one quadrant to show you what the expectation is, but then I will be zone coaching you all to make sure that, just to check for understanding. So if you could, go ahead and break your mannequin down into 4 quadrants. And while you are doing that, I am going to subdivide Miss Ellie right here, right behind her ear. All right. Do we have the subsectioning down? Can I take this PowerPoint down? Let me stop sharing my screen for a second. Awesome. I want to make sure that you all can see exactly what I'm doing. Now, for me, just to make this a speedier process, I don't use a lot of clips. And is that okay? Yes. If you use clips, is that okay? Yes, totally, 100%. But what I want to do is I want to show you my speedy application with doing a retouch, a color retouch. And I've already pre-mixed my color. I have some 6N in Color Fusion with 10 volume because she's a lovely level 7. So we're just depositing, so 10 volume. I have my color retouch brush with the shorter bristles. We do have 2 different color brushes. at Redken, we have the long bristle for color refresh, and we have the short bristle for a color retouch. And since we're doing a color retouch, I'm going to use my short bristle brush. And what I'm going to do is, you see that I've subdivided Ellie right behind her ear. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a little bit of color just in that zone 1 application, or that zone 1 area. And what placing this color in zone 1 is going to do is tell that hair, I need you, or I want you to stay right here. So you see it's already staying away from that part line. So now if I take my other side of that subsection and I apply the color, which, let me make sure you all can see. Let me get a little closer. There we go. If I start to apply on the other side of this subsection, that is going to tell that hair that I want you to live on this side. So now you see I'm already telling the hair that I want it to live where I need it to live in order to make this color retouch as speedy and as efficient as possible. And now what Ellie has told me in her consultation is that she likes to wear a center part. So I have her parted right down the center. Ooh, there we go. So I'm going to load my brush with a little bit more color, and I'm going to finish outlining that quadrant by placing color on either side of her part line. And the reason I focus on the part line first is because that's where, if she had grade, that's where we would want to ensure the most coverage. So that's why I typically start on the part line, but lucky for me, Miss Ellie has a center part, so that helps me out with this demonstration. So you can already see that is telling that hair exactly where I want it to live. It is staying nice, neat, and organized, and we are ready to rock and roll. I do want to preface, I am working behind the mannequin. I want to make sure that you can see everything that I am doing crystal clearly. If you cannot, let me know, raise your hand or just throw it in the chat and we will definitely fix that. But you will of course be working in front of your subsection to make it easier, neater, and cleaner for you. Now what we've done, we've outlined our quadrant, which you will go ahead and outline all 4 of your quadrants. But like I said, for simplicity and for timing reasons, I'm just doing 1 quadrant so that way I can ensure I have plenty of time to spend time with all of you in your color application. But once we've outlined all 4 of our quadrants, what we are going to do is start at the center top and take a diagonal back subsection, load our brush, apply that with those diagonal back subsections. And how thick should our subsections be? I heard 1/4 of an inch. I love that. 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. It really depends on the density and the texture of hair, right? You want to be able to read, the old school terminology was, you want to read a newspaper through it, right? But nowadays we know we read many more text messages than we do newspaper. But if you still read a newspaper, make sure that you can read your newspaper through your subsections. That's going to ensure proper saturation. So that way, from a speed perspective, you're not having to hit both sides of that subsection. So you see, as I'm taking this next subsection back and compressing it into my previous subsection, it's taking on some of that saturation from my previous subsection, and I only have to load or apply color to one side of that subsection. And then we're going to continue down the round of the head, working still in those diagonal back subsections. And you see how much surface area I'm able to get with these diagonal back subsections. And with Ellie, she does have a pretty small head, so I can keep control of my subsections pretty easily. But say that we had someone who had a larger subsection and we needed to still maintain control, we could definitely break that subsection into 2. So you see how I took that into 2 subsections, so that way I can maintain control. I love it. But still making sure that we're taking those subsections that are thin enough that we can read those text messages through. And I'm going to continue going down the head. Another reason I love this technique is because whenever I'm done with this technique, I have already worked the hair up and away out of her face. So whenever and I'll show you whenever we're done with the subsection, whenever I go to put her hair down so that way she can process, it's going to be out of her face so she can still read her phone, she can check Facebook, she can do whatever she needs to do while that color's processing. And there's another hot tip that's really amazing for doing these diagonal back subsections, and we are almost to that sweet spot, and I'm super excited. So while I'm moving down this quadrant, does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? Or if we're feeling good, give me some hearts in the chat or some heart reactions. I love it. Yes, I see those. I see them coming through. I love it. And you see, I'm focusing this retouch on just zone 1. I don't want to overlap that color, especially thinking if it was like a gray retouch, you could brown out those ends or you could cause additional systemic damage that we would like to stay away from. Now, as you can see, we're getting closer to the hairline. So I can probably get one more subsection in there before I get to that hairline. So let's take that one more subsection, load our brush. Ooh, keep me honest if you can't see me. Can you all see me? Yes, I love it. All right. So I'm going to lift her just a little bit so that, oh, I'm going to lift her just a little bit if she would like to stay lifted. She fell asleep. We gave her such a great experience that she fell asleep and her head started to fall a little forward, but that's okay. So the other reason that I love this, so we did one quadrant very quickly, but the other, and maybe not the last reason, but one big reason I love doing these diagonal back subsections is by the time that you get to the hairline, we're going to load that previous subsection with just a little bit of extra color, and you're going to see why in just a second. And then whenever I take my subsection right around that hairline, I can over direct that back and I can see if I compress that some of that saturation is already coming through that subsection. And then all I have to do is lightly saturate that hairline right there. And then boom, Merry Christmas. Didn't get any color on her face. I got a piece of hair in her face, but no color on her face. That is a piece of hair right there. Yes. Awesome. So taking one more subsection, diagonal back, compressing it into that previous subsection, loading my brush, and just hitting that one side of my subsection makes it a so much cleaner application. And think about how that's going to elevate that guest experience. Now I'm going to work down the temples of this subsection. Let me move my mannequin, make sure you can see. Beautiful. You see how clean, how nice and clean that is? And then how fast. Now I'm talking and working at the same time, but just imagine how quickly you could get this done if you were behind the chair in the salon, not working and talking at the same time like I am right now. We're almost done, and I'm going to show you the magic part. Got about 2 more subsections. Condense that. Let's load that subsection up. Awesome, love it. And then this one, since her hairline does go into a triangle, I am going to load both sides of this quadrant just because of the way that she is shaped in her hairline. And then just feather that retouch right there in zone 1, taking my brush vertically and just kind of kissing that saturation. So that way it still stays nice, clean around the hairline. That is hair right there. So yes, nice and clean. I love it. Awesome. So here's the magic part. Whenever we take this down, so we have used diagonal back subsections, correct? So whenever we take the hair down, we have told the hair, I want you to go diagonally back away from the away from the face. So whenever I start to lay this hair back down where it lives, it is going to lay away from her face. So this way she can still read her text messages, she can still check her Facebook, everything like that. Amazing. 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 Super quick. I love that. Awesome. So before we end this segment, do we have any questions, comments, or concerns about the application that we just did? I'm gonna watch you all in just a second, but do we have any questions, comments, or concerns over what we just covered? For good, give me some hearts in the chats. Give me some hearts in the reactions. Yes, I see those coming through. And while you all are reacting, let me share my screen. Let's go over a little bit of product knowledge. So we have our subsectioning down. We feel good about our subsectioning. Give me some more hearts in the reactions if we're loving the subsectioning. Amazing. And last but not least, like I said, we use Color Fusion. It is an alkaline cream-based permanent hair color. It is ammonia cream-based, excuse me, cream-based hair color. And you can get up to 4 levels of lift. And what is the determinant on how many levels of lift that you get? That's where I see it. It's the developer. I love it. And then it is 100% oxidative permanent hair color. The processing time for this would be 35 to 45 minutes. 45 minutes if you're trying to cover gray and you have resistant gray, you can let it process up to 45 minutes. And some of the characteristics of that is multi-dimensional results with condition and shine. It is an absolute amazing hair color that has so many different properties and proteins in it that help make the hair not only stronger and shinier, but it doesn't damage the hair unnecessarily while we are coloring the hair. Versatile palette. We have color fusion, cover fusion, high fusion. We have natural fusion. We have so many different kind of fusion families that we can choose from depending on what the end result that we're looking for is, and depending on what the percentage of gray is with that guest. And then last but not least, it's America's #1 permanent hair color. I would say that it's the #1 in the world, but who am I? But it's America's #1 permanent hair color system because there is just so much versatility with color fusion. It's absolutely phenomenal. And the thing that I love, I was just talking to some stylists at a class yesterday, is that it doesn't overcomplicate the permanent hair color life. It doesn't overcomplicate permanent hair color. Color fusion gives you what you need for that result. So for instance, and I'll say this and I'll close, is that if you need something that's in the red family, red lives in what levels? Red lives between levels 4 and 6, maybe sometimes a 7, but that's when you're starting to get into that orange family. But if it doesn't live outside of that realm, it's not in color fusion. So it takes all the guesswork out for you. So it makes it simple. It makes coloring simple, but you get predictable, consistent results every single time you use it correctly. So let me quit sharing my screen because that is all that I have for today. It has been a lovely 20 minutes. So let's quit sharing on my screen. Let me look at the chat, make sure that we don't have any outstanding questions before we end. The chat looks fine. I love it. So thank you so much. I always say you can make more money, but you can't make more time. So thank you for spending your time with me today for this short, lovely 20 minutes.